Filling in. Excellent, excellent. Who was first? IV Dekhoff. Good to see us. Oh, good. And the LinkedIn is linked in. They're earning their title, finally. All right, let's just let everybody file in. Class is about to begin. We got some things to discuss tonight. So let me say what's up to a few people. Montree75, good to see you. Thank you for being here. It's always how I know I exist, when Montree75 shows up to the stream. And let's see who else we got here. I see you, Marley Speaks. Hello, hello. Christine Wander, nice to see us. Nice to see you. Rachel, California. Cool. Okay. And it looks like we're up on the non-IG side of things. Drop in the chat where you at, how you feeling, how you living, how you doing. This is Live on Lockdown, episode 44. It is the 29th of October, 2020. I am Baratunde Thurston, and it's good to be here. I want to jump right in and give you an update on the thing that you care most about, the thing that has been keeping you up at night, the thing that has ripped this society apart. I am talking, of course, about the backyard critters in the lot that I live on in Los Angeles. It's been a journey. It's been sometimes a struggle. Sometimes I've wondered, am I going crazy here? Am I the wrong one here? Am I the wrong party? And other times I'm just humble before the power of Mother Nature. So, the cast of characters is unchanged. We've got your skunk and your possum and your squirrels and the raccoons and the neighborhood cats. But there's been some shifts among the cast members. So same basic set, but their roles are a little different. There's a new cat on the block. It's a new cat. We always just had two cats that rolled through at night, and that is a new cat, literally a new cat. And I don't know who it belongs to or who belongs to the cat. And I've never met this cat in real life, but the way I see on the surveillance, like this cat just walks like it's like king of the jungle. Like it's a cat that thinks it's a lion. It's one of those types of cats. So that's interesting. Squirrels do their daytime thing, whatever. Like the fruit's all gone. It's fine. We got our fair share. I'm happy that they shared with us. I've shifted my whole perspective. Skunk's been quiet lately. Skunk's been very quiet. And but I know they're okay. I just gotta those are my peeps. But what's different, the raccoons are still here. And we haven't heard them rumble in the jungle on the rooftop like before. And I haven't caught them doing hyper destructive things on the video camera. But I'm noticing two things about the raccoons. First, they're big. They're tiny bears, but they're big like rodent things. If it was a bear, I'd be like, oh, it's a cute little bear. But a raccoon is like from a different species. I'm like, whatever thing you are, you're huge. And I never want to meet you at night. Like I always meet them through the safety of video footage the morning after they do what they do. But I'm getting a sense of proportion. I mean, if I had a dog, like that dog would be dead. These raccoons are, I don't know if it's like the Rona or they got into a stash of remdesivir or hydroxychloroquine or something, but they're eating good and they're muscle, just like beefcake raccoons. And I had some suspicions about them that have been verified by strategic placement, other surveillance cameras. So we got these like cement slabs, to make a walkway. And there's, dirt and moss in between where some irrigation lines run. And I had noticed a disturbance in the force. You just like, somebody's digging around in the moss in between, and the space in between, and the cracks in between. Who's doing that? Who's trying to excavate the irrigation line? What are you doing? And I had considerations. I'm like, these squirrels, because squirrels are always trying to get a nut or trying to plant a nut. Like squirrels they're crazy. But then the raccoons, and I got them. Oh, I got him dead to rights, yo. I mean, the angle is just like, and you just see this little homie, like, it's like they're laughing. just trenching. Just like, I don't know if he's trying to lay fiber, you know what I'm saying? Because he realizes that America's broadband infrastructure is a shambles and an embarrassment for a nation this wealthy, especially at a time when kids got to be schooling from home and people got to be working from home and we're all trying to Netflix and just chill. Maybe this is Raccoon ISP, you know what I'm saying? Laying some dark fiber down and gonna light it up. A man can dream. An American can hope. Or maybe the squirrels bury something and then the raccoons are like, nah, that's mine. What's mine is mine. What's yours is mine. Pulling some 1990s Onyx, you know. So that could be what's happening. But the possum have the biggest update of all. 2 new possum characters on the scene. And then y'all get to talking about the politics or whatever. But this is political. The personal is political. And these animals, it's like Animal Farm out here. All these little dynamics, we can learn lessons from these. How these folks peacefully coexist relatively. So there's a possum that's come along. And I call him the old man because he's got this like shuffle. He reminds me of, you know, when I used to do like a lot of Latin dancing in a former life. I used to do a lot of Latin dancing in Boston. I know, expectations be damned. And every once in a while you see like this very old Latin dude who barely moves, but he's the smoothest cat in the club. You know, like he's just like, like he dances with his eyebrows and like, but he's and he's just like, I'm gonna spin this woman, and he's just like, like it's so tiny, it's like the old man shuffle. That's what this raccoon is. This possum is like the old man at the salsa club who knows. Like, he's like, I was born with these moves. I don't need to be flashy. Flash is a young man's game. Watch, like, black people, we got the 2-step. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just lean with it, rock with it, right? You go. But the old Latin dude is like a 1/2-step, right? It's like a shoulder. Just, there's more like sexiness and confidence and just like that. Like, it's just like a little zhuzh. Just like a boom, boom. And like, oh, snap, I lost my date to the octogenarian with the Panama cap. Okay, I mean, you clearly earned that. You probably fought in 5 revolutions. What do I know? Oh, wow. Looks like my IG live stream went down just so dramatically. That's really bad. I mean, we're still good. This is why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's literally never happened before. Let's try to get this title on Lockdown Take 2. Glad I'm burning this stream on the animal talk. All right, let's just, we gotta, you know, we're like the Marines are streaming. We don't leave anybody behind. So don't get smug, Periscope. I see you, Facebook. You know what I'm saying? We gotta bring Mark Zuckerberg's other properties along with us. All right. So, I see some of y'all came over from the IG live. Checking connection. We'll see. So thank you. We got more consolidation in the force up over here. Okay. So welcome back, IG, for now. That's never happened before, but you know, we got redundancies up in here. Unlike America's infrastructure. It always comes back to infrastructure. Are we ever going to get the infrastructure week? Anyway, I was telling a dope story about old salsa dude in the club and how he has more sex and confidence in this little zhuzh than like like I'm out here like swing dancing, you know, doing backflips and what, like, look at me, I'm limber, percolator mixed with the bachata, you know what I'm saying? Just like working it, sweating. And this old dude's just like cigar, just like, so anyway, that's what this possum is like. So we got an old man possum. It's got a little shuffle step. It's just like, and then I got a little sad because I looked more closely and I was like, oh, I think that possum got wrecked in a fight. Like his leg is a little busted. Maybe it's broken. Maybe the raccoon got to it, you know. But in my head, that's just it's an OG possum. And at the other end of the spectrum, folks, we got a baby possum. We got a baby possum in the backyard comes out at night, got him on the cam. It's so cute. It's so cute. It's a little bitty possum, and she's like, it's great. I haven't named it yet. Posse, maybe. But anyway, that's what's going on in the backyard. You know how we play this game. I have topics that I'm going to get to. I want to know what you want to talk about. If you're on the IG Live, we'll see how long you last, but hit the question mark button. I'm so glad I'm not relying on the IG. I would have been, in a previous version of me, would have been so hot right now. Just like, how dare you? How dare you drop me? But now you're like the backup stream. Sorry, IG, but that's just how it is tonight. So if you're not trusting it, find me on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, or the Scope of Perry. There's something you want to talk about? Light up the comments on whatever platform you're at, and I'm going to talk about a few things, like the fact that show don't tell. Yeah, I voted. Da, 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 da. Love it. Feeling it. Feels good. I've been out here working hard to try to promote voting, try to facilitate voting. And we've made 4 episodes of How to Citizen about voting. It's a lot, but it's not enough. We had Maria Teresa Kumar from Voto Latino on one episode. We had Sherilyn Eiffel from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund on another episode. For the 3rd episode, we went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, spoke with Angela Lang of Black Leaders Organizing Communities, aka BLOC, and how they're taking this stuff so seriously this time around. And we're so annoyed at the absence of the Clinton campaign back in 2016, and then to be blamed for the Clinton campaign's loss because black folk didn't show up. What about those white women that showed up for Trump? You know what I'm saying? Like, numbers wise, you can't put that election on black people. We always been there. And then the 4th episode, we had Desmond Meade from the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, who I've just been in awe of for a while. They restored voting rights to people convicted of felonies, 1.4 million people back in 2018, overwhelming result, 65% in a referendum, like the public weighed in, bypassing the legislature. And the Republican Party does what it's going to do, which is try to restrict people's access to voting by adding a hurdle for many of those people to pay off all fines and restitutions before you get your voting rights back. Despite that, Desmond is, or maybe because of it, the most inspiring person that we've had on the show. And we've had mad inspiring people. So you want to check that episode out. So it's been nice. I've been doing the Fridays for Unity with the Rolling Stone stream. I'm doing a move on thing this weekend. I've been encouraging the texting through Open Progress texting and donating money. Get Mitch or Die Trying Fund, the Jamie Harrison from Orangeburg, just because I don't like Lindsey Graham and his shameless dishonorableness. I see your dishonorableness, Senator Graham. And I would like to see you out. I want to give Lindsey Graham the greatest retirement party. So I've been doing all this stuff. And it's not burying the lead. I got to work with Yara Shahidi. Y'all, that was dope. And help write a 2-part pro-voting series, pro-democracy series that she's got up over on her Instagram. Check it out. She is as delightful as she appears to be. And I feel like, what is my life right now? This is dope. So good job, sis. I'm so proud of her. And I know more people are going to be voting because folks be listening to Miss Grownish. Very, very cool. So all that's like external. And then it's like, it'd be very awkward after all that if I didn't vote. That'd be kind of weird, right? Like, it's like, everybody get out there, get your franchise. Oh, would you vote for Virginia? Well, what happened was I was really busy. You should see my GCal telling all these people to vote. So we did it. Here in LA. Did the Dropbox situation. Too late for the mail. Especially you see folks trying to erect barriers even after the fact and pouring molasses in the postal service machines and whatnot. So the Dropbox felt the best, and I got that tracking code on it. So I'm going to be on it like Amazon. I'm going to be on it like Tucker Carlson wasn't, you know what I'm saying, with the Fox News, Hunter Biden document situation. We got lost in the mail. Okay, and the dog also ate your homework. Nice job, professional. You ever heard of photocopies? Why would you ever mail just one copy of anything? I've heard a lot of dumb stuff in 2020, but Fox News mailing one copy of incriminating documents and it getting lost in the mail, it ranks pretty high on the dumbest things I've heard list. Anyway, voted. Went to the public library because they are palaces for the people. What's up, Aaron Kleinberg? And, I still rep the Brooklyn Public Library, even though I'm out here in LA. So do your voting thing. And it felt good. It also was mad work. There were like 25 choices on the ballot and all these propositions and measures. And California, it's weird. I don't remember all this back in New York. I thought New York was like a legit state, a lot of democracy stuff happening. And you get out to California like, oh, I heard you like voting. So we put voting inside your voting so you could vote some more. I'm like, yo, I need Wikipedia. I'm breaking out like law. Where's the law library? What's up? I'm looking up commercial real estate taxation policies and the props, and then the ballot, they call them measures, but then the media, they call them props. And I was like, is it measure 25 or is it proposition 25? What's up? It was Prop Joe. I needed Prop Joe to help me through this, make me a proposition. And there were two propositions, which I found very interesting. I'm watching this clock because last time I went an hour 20. We're not doing that tonight. There's one that is all about Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart being granted an exception from the new labor laws that California's imposed in Assembly Bill 5, AB 5. You see how I'm just like spitting, just like bill language? This is how I'm still in it. I'm still like, I dream about, I guess that was that 20? I don't have the ballot in front of me right now. But you get the drift. And there was all kinds of endorsements and whatnot. And I saw something shady. I put this out on Twitter. But as I was going through the various measures or propositions, I'm a new Californian and a Newfornian. And you get to see who's on what side of the issue. And I kept seeing the California NAACP weighing in on stuff. All kinds of stuff on like the other side of things that I would like naturally agree with. What's up with the California NAACP? This feels kind of weird. And then I start to dig in. I'm like the raccoon. I'm just like, oh, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to lay some fiber up in this joint, make a connection. And it turns out the woman who runs the California NAACP has a side hustle, runs a political consulting firm that gets paid to promote certain sides of ballot initiatives. That's not only endorsement, it just says California NAACP. It doesn't say NAACP heads side hustle. And even if separately the NAACP fully endorsed it, like I got to know about, she made $1.2 million off of this. So, I go in a lot on the right and the Republicans and the blah, 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 but everybody can be shady. And it just reminded me of some old creepy, shady, church nonsense where the pastor's always got the dope ride and the parishioners and whatnot, the clerk, the people don't have nothing at all. So I had to make up my own mind on this. And this great website, Cal Matters, does a really good job. And then you're digging, I'm texting people, I'm calling people. Elizabeth and I are like, we have arguments, it was really dope. So anyway, on this Uber exception, because this affects, I'm not going to go through everything on the California ballot because most of y'all are not in California with me. But this stuff affects the whole world. And, on the one side, they're asking for an exception from treating their contract workers as full employees. And they're saying, we don't need to be weighed down by full employee status. Instead, we'll offer them a little bit more money, little tasty taste of healthcare, a little smidgen. You get to look at the mask. You can't wear it, but you get to look at the mask. You know what I'm saying? You get to feel insured, whatever. But they did come some distance from the total exploitation that they had been running under that would have been required, in AB 5. So you see all that and you're like, okay, part of me, it's like, maybe people who work in these service industries and these gig economies, they don't want to be full-time employees either. They want that flexibility. And the unions certainly want to grab up as many people as possible. And there's some good and some bad to that. So I was leaning toward like, yo, let them have the exception. Let's have a third way. We talked about it in the house, we're researching. Very smart people saying, yo, let them have that exception, including the California NAACP. But the fact that they were for it, I was like, what's going on here? Like once you realize the game, you're like, oh, you got paid to think that? What else you get paid to think? So now I'm like leaning against your money because I'm like, you didn't tell me you got paid to endorse. So let me dig a little deeper. And I ended up voting no on this. As an Uber and a Lyft, yo, man, like they have spent $200 million to get this exception. There's never been any amount of money like that spent on any ballot initiative in California's history. And this state is made of money, gold, silicon, like silicone. And it just didn't sit right. I mean, you're trying to buy your way out of this accountability. Furthermore, your business doesn't make any damn sense, right? Like I could understand if these were profitable entities making a profit. They're not. They are VC subsidized little arbitrage games. They are special projects. They are extracurricular activities taking advantage of people's need to have 3-4 jobs. And you're going to make them do all that, and then they got to carry their own insurance, and then they don't get paid for the time that they're waiting for the passenger, only the time the passenger's technically in the car. And you can't come up with enough sense in your business model to have a positive margin, yet somehow you come up with $200 million to tell me how to vote? Psh, get up out of here. You know what? And shame on the regulators and the elected officials who let it go this far too. I'm not letting y'all off the hook. This little game should have been wrapped up years ago. And now you got these weird norms in the system where people are dependent on exploitation for their income. What kind of box you putting people in? So I say, no, let's have some natural selection up in here. Let's expose these businesses to the real model, to the real environment. And you stand on your own 2 feet, but you don't get to bend the system to your will like that. And what put it over the top, it wasn't the payoff to the NAACP head in California. And it wasn't the fakeness of the business model, this money losing venture. We're unicorns. We're worth $1 billion and we lose money every quarter. Really? You're supposed to be the smart ones. Do something smart and make money. I know people out on the corner selling t-shirts got better business model than you. And they don't get all these subsidies and exceptions and bending the law to their will. So cut it out. But the thing that really bugged me, because these companies have such reach, they're in your pocket. When I lived in New York, Uber did this nonsense. Throw a little notification in the app. Tell Mayor de Blasio, blah. You tell him. Come enlist me in your political lobbying efforts. That's an abuse of information access. That's an abuse of notification access. I didn't grant you that right to enlist me in your political lobbying efforts as a business. And then they did it to their drivers too. They put it in the driver's dashboard. Talk to your passengers about why they should vote yes on 22. It's so manipulative. So they're trying to pay off the politicians. They're trying to pay off the endorsers, and they're bullying their drivers and they're bullying their own customers. Without the drivers, you don't have a business. Without the customers, you don't have a business. Don't enlist me in your scam. I want to send a signal to these fake businesses. Free ride's done. If you can't figure out how to make money, then you're not a business. You don't just get to coast. And the fact that there's so much excess capital in the system that you got VCs chasing down terrible business models just to overfund it and get in on an early round so they can pass the buck to a later round and call themselves quality investors, that's also a scam. We got to call shenanigans on this whole thing. Because you got little brown kids out here trying to make real businesses. You got people who've been in the game for decades, older folks who have solid ideas, and they can't get none of this money. The banks ain't trying to loan Pookie nothing for his legit business, which is actually cash flow positive. We got still essentially redlining going on in terms of financing of entrepreneurs and small businesses in this country. And there's billions of dollars from people who were never taxed enough going to shambles of a fake ass business plan to then pay off the California NAACP to try to bully me because, oh, we found a black person to say we should be subsidized by the state. Miss me with this bullshit. Come on now. So that was fun. Again, I was like the raccoon, excavating the truth on that matter. Nope. Not with my vote. So, had to make a little statement about that. If you still in California, you haven't voted yet, don't let these little worms off the hook. You made your bed, now you sleep in it. You try to make a real business. Otherwise, move along. I'm tired of people celebrating money losing as innovation. I'm tired of people celebrating labor exploitation as the future of work. I'm tired of people celebrating funding your friends as good at business. This is the lie. This is the stuff. It heats me. Because this whole time, I work. What do you do? I work for Uber. We arbitrage human capital. Respect to Scott Galloway, who planted that thought. He said Uber arbitrages people, playing them off each other. It's disgusting. Come back to me when you could do math. Whew. All right, so we talked about the baby possum. Apparently, I have some things to say. Ooh, hydration break. Okay. Thank you, Rachel Kelly, seeing the passion. Appreciate that. Stephanie, pyramid schemes upon schemes. Is right. I think to draw one extra line, when abject mathematical failure is hailed as success and worthy of further reward, that's how you get the current president. Oh, but he's good at business. This dude $400 million in debt. And that's after Deutsche Bank wrote off $225 million. That's not even counting the people he just outright didn't pay. How many hundreds of millions of dollars do you have to lose before you are not good at business? So as far as I'm concerned, Uber, Lyft, all these cats, they ain't no better than the president at business. Cut it out. Stop lionizing this type of failure, this upward failure, which is not extended to everybody. If you're going to extend that upward failure mobility to the immigrant, to the refugee, by all means, to the formerly incarcerated, let's do it. But we all know that's not how this works. No, you got to prove that you've already failed at Stanford first. That when you got kicked out of school for disciplinary, your parents could afford to put you in another highfalutin school to cover up on all your mistakes. So you never did time. You never went to juvie. It's the same stuff. I'm not saying everybody who runs Uber should have been in juvie. I mean, maybe they could learn something, from kids who've been through some things, but that's not the point. The point is just to heighten the contradiction of who gets the white glove treatment and who gets punched in the damn face. Same country, different rules. We got to call that out and we got to do better. Got to do a lot better. I want to talk about the Rona. It's not good. It's not good. As of today, October 29th, 2020, the United States is at 9 million cases of the coronavirus, of COVID-19 cases. We're number one. And our president's out here trying to rack up numbers in the worst way in these super spreader campaign events. India is right behind us. But last time I checked, they have about 3 times as many people and 1/100th of the national wealth. Like we should be embarrassed. As the United States of America, we should be embarrassed to be performing so poorly. So poorly. Out of like 190 nations, our rate of growth of infections, we're like 33. We're in the top quintile, top quartile. Like, it's not, this is not the number one you want to be, America. This is failing up in the worst way. 80,000 cases a day as I check these dashboards, 1,000 deaths a day. People just not here anymore. They can't vote. They can't hug. They can't jump on live streams. Like, they're gone. And often alone. Because we failed. 1,000 people a day. It's like 2 9/11s a week. 9/11 led to the longest running war in our nation's history and massive protests. 220-something thousand people dead. We already outstripped Vietnam. We've passed the halfway point to World War II deaths from this country. Past the halfway point in under a year. World War II reshaped the world. That's why it's called a world war. We're past the halfway point to that in under a year. We're a third of the way to the Civil War numbers. 620,000 people died in the Civil War in the United States. We're at like 220,000 something. Literally redrew the lines of our nation. What's this going to do to us when it didn't even have to happen? It's not like these people died fighting Hitler. They died because we didn't flatten the curve. They died because people wanted a haircut. They died because the president wanted a rally and the White House itself wouldn't do contact tracing, setting a terrible example for everybody else who runs any kind of institution. I remember when John Kerry ran and they kept playing this clip of his testimony after the Vietnam War. How do you tell someone they're the last person to die for a mistake? Vietnam was like 58,000. That didn't have to happen either. But this is worse. Nobody signed up for any of this. We're not fighting communism. We're losing democracy. It's worse because we have an absolute choice. An absolute choice. It's worse because the timeline is compressed. We were involved in Vietnam for over 20 years. We haven't even hit 12 months. So the rate of failure is extraordinarily devastating. It's still 2020. It's still 2020, and this is where we're at. It's the worst. I've been taking a look at some data because I believe in gathering information to improve my analysis on things in the world. It's a condition I'm working on. It's called learning. And occasionally I indulge. I'm sorry. But there's a wonderful website that I've grown to rely on when it comes to these numbers. Globalpandemics.org. Many different sources coming together to interpret this data. And it's a nice color-coded system. They talk about the meaningful number in terms of measuring the spread. Number of cases per 100,000 people. So you don't get to be like, well, New York has more people. Per 100,000, same denominator. On a rolling 7-day average, so you flatten out any spikes, any extraordinary days when it comes to reporting. Because sometimes you get the numbers in a lump sum and that can throw off your interpretation. So they smooth it out so you get a real clear picture. And they got 4 colors. It's real simple stuff. Per 100,000. Green, under 1 case per 100,000 on a 7-day rolling average. You want to be in the green because green means you're on track for containment. Green means you can just monitor the situation with testing and contact tracing for those few cases. New Zealand's green. Just for a point of reference, Jacinda Ardern, she's like a green leader. I'm so jealous. Under 1, green, basically live your life. But monitor the situation, test, trace, supported isolation. Yellow, that's like 1 to 9 cases per 100,000 people. We're in community spread. Remember that phrase? Remember we learned community spread? Oh, that's not good. That's not good. I remember in the beginning, 1,500 years ago, aka March, the United States is experiencing community spread. It's jumped. It's not just people coming in off of planes. So I'm glad that the president did the thing to stop the flights from China, 25% of them, but it is a little late. And you got to do stuff on the ground now because we had community spread. That's a bad thing. That means virus basically got a mind of its own now. It's doing its thing. It's multiplying. It's spreading among us. It's one of us. So you want rigorous testing, tracing, supported isolation. Rigorous testing, tracing, supported isolation for that 1 to 9 cases per 100,000. That's the yellow. Yellow, you still like, okay, we can open the economy up a bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got this. We got to be very careful. Next step, 3 out of 4 color codes, orange. Orange drink. 10 to 24 cases, accelerated spread. This is not good. This is not good. Stay-at-home orders required in many cases and or rigorous test and trace programs. Orange. That's 10 to 24 cases. And then you got red. You got DJ Red Alert up in here. Over 25 cases per 100,000 on a 7-day rolling average. Tipping point. Stay-at-home orders necessary. No ambiguity. It's too wildly spreading for the testing and the tracing at that point. So as of right now, when I'm talking to you, 29th of October, in the year 2020, the United States of America overall is at 22. 22 cases per 100,000 on a 7-day rolling average. We're in the orange, bumping up on red. As a nation, that's not like one county here or there. It's not just New York City. No, that's us. That's the whole nation. So on average, America needs to stay home and or do rigorous testing and contact tracing. White House won't do contact tracing. The White House wouldn't do contact tracing. Where do you think that leaves America? Tipping point. These numbers are terrible. These numbers are bad. And I've looked at this site, and you can look at it by congressional district, which is a very interesting way to look at this for me. Because when you look at the United States by congressional district, there are no green districts. There are no green districts in our whole nation. Not even Hawaii. No, the country's just red. It's just red everywhere. It's just red. You look at it by county and it's red. It's red everywhere. You look at it by state and it's red. It's just we're bleeding. We're bleeding out as a nation. And the bad news is, it's going to get worse. We're not flattening the curve, we're climbing the curve. And I say this, I'm not just trying to terrify you. There's a point. We were trying to keep these numbers low, not just because we're playing a video game where low numbers is a better score, but because downstream of those numbers are a pile of dead bodies. Because downstream of those numbers are sick people. Because downstream of those numbers is a healthcare system that can only take so much. We're at 80,000 cases a day today as a nation, and it's gonna get higher. Hospitals are running out of beds again. Before the beds, they're running out of staff to manage people again. And most frustratingly of all, they're running out of PPE again. I mean, I know America's big on the remakes, but how are you going to remake a movie you're still watching? That's a very twisted logic. These numbers are going to go up because people are inside more, because people are fed up more, because people are exhausted more. And winter is coming. It's already arrived in some places. And the holidays are coming. This gets worse. This gets worse. And I'm not the epidemiologist. I integrate this information. Dr. Michael Osterholm, listen to the Osterholm Update podcast. He just dropped one yesterday. Check it out. More extended analysis than I have time for with you right now. But all that is counter to everything our current president is saying. We're rounding the turn. What is that? How we let this dude just get away with learn the language? Learn the language. No offense, but he speaks English like the immigrants that he judges for speaking English poorly. For somebody who grew up here, use the right turn of phrase. You're around the corner. We're rounding the turn. Come on, man. I'm so exhausted. Are you exhausted? I think you're probably exhausted. So this dude is out here lying. And not just lying, spreading the virus. He's a clear and present danger. I mean, 25th Amendment should have been invoked a long time ago, but we got a bunch of cowards. Got a bunch of cowards at the top of our government. Got a bunch of cowards in the Republican Party who align themselves with power rather than the people, rather than the Constitution, than with life. As pro-life people. So we arrive here in late October, early November, and I'm reminded of priorities. The U.S. House of Representatives passed a massive COVID relief bill in May. May, June, July, August, September, October, November. We're 6-7 months later. And the Republican-controlled Senate just couldn't find the time. Oh, wait, that's not quite right. Chose not to use the time. They found the time to cram in another Supreme Court justice. Broke the record, personal best. Bravo, Mitch. Bravo. May your family name be shamed forever in the history books. I want McConnells to have to change their name because they don't want to be associated with this cat. All that manipulation, all that prioritization to get Amy Coney Barrett on the bench. No more dollars in your pocket. You know what else they found time for? They found time to figure out how to use Zoom enough to yell like a bunch of crazy old men at tech company CEOs. They made time for that. Ted Cruz made time to act indignant. I guess he's going for an Oscar as someone who actually cares about something. I mean, look, I want to yell at tech company CEOs too. You know, I'll do it. But our house is on fire. The country is red. We're bleeding out from a data perspective around COVID. And folks have run out of money. We are asking folks to stay home and not congregate and stay out of work, but we're not making it easy for them to do that. That's the government. They're the only ones who can write checks for money that's not there. Because they're good for it. Allegedly. I'm starting to have my doubts. So the Senate makes time and space for Amy Coney Barrett. They make time and space to yell at Sundar Pichai and Mark Zuckerberg and Luke Skywalker, aka Jack Dorsey. What's up with Jack? Do we need a wellness check on Jack? That's a whole nother thing. But they still haven't found time to extend the unemployment benefits, to support our medical workers, to support our schools, to get the testing and the tracing apparatus up. I remember when this president had a whole press conference promising drive-through testing across the nations at Walmarts and Walgreens and CVS and 1,000 Google engineers. That was all a lie. It was a lie. He got COVID himself, gave it to his wife, gave it to his kid. He wouldn't protect his own kid. You think he cares about yours? Come on now. It's a wrap. And even when it's a wrap, we got more death coming because this virus doesn't care. The moment it's already baked in. All these cases creates pressure on the healthcare system in the dead of winter. And we saw it coming. There's not a sneak attack by the enemy. It was known, it was predicted, it was written, and we still headed straight toward disaster. I don't know what you call that level of gross negligence. Mass murder? What do you call that? What do you call the Senate that chooses not to engage, to help people make it through, to make it easier to swallow the pill of physical distancing because you know you can pay the rent and pay the mortgage? The objections that the Republicans have raised to spending more money is really interesting. We don't want to bail out Democrat cities. First of all, you're being petty jackasses by calling them Democrat. It's Democratic run. It's the Democratic Party. Like, just stop being such a little loser, little thin-skinned loser. And then to say that some pain in this country is okay because it's levied against parts of the country run by the opposition party is the opposite of patriotic. It's really sick. It actually disgusts me. People, oh, it's okay if Democrats die. It's a New York City problem. It's a coastal elite. We don't have subways in real America. You know what we have in cities that you don't have in rural America? Hospitals. You know where this virus is ripping through at over 100 cases per 100,000? I told you 25 was the tipping point. We got mad places near 100. North Dakota, South Dakota. I'm looking at you. I feel like they don't have a ton of remdesivir in South Dakota. In rural South Dakota. They don't have a ton of hospitals there. Wasn't that supposed to be part of Making America Great? Oh, right. It was just a slogan. There was actually no investment in rural America. Just an investment in emotional payoff, but no actual infrastructure. Still waiting on that infrastructure week. Now it's a bit late. So people are going to die. Because Mitch McConnell didn't want to do a blue state bailout. I don't know what to call that crime. But it is unpatriotic at best. It's sick. And this is what's held us up. Because you don't want to help your fellow American. Because they vote differently than you. It's real twisted. It's real twisted. You can't reopen the economy on the top of a pile of dead bodies. You can't reopen the economy when the virus is spreading as wildly as it is. You can't reopen an economy when your healthcare system has been overrun by the virus. It's just the wrath of the math. And I'm so tired of it. I'm so disgusted by it. No deal is going to happen before the election. Nancy Pelosi thinks one might happen right after. She's assuming that Joe Biden wins and the president will do something in his lame duck session. I don't know. I'm out of the prediction business on this. I asked earlier today what y'all wanted to talk about, and I got something really interesting from Profanator77. I just want to read to you. It was a beautiful comment on my IG. It's changing gears a little bit. I know this topic may not be popular because you're speaking for hearing communities, but I thought it'd be nice if someone could talk about the deaf community for a change. Like, how would things going on in this country, how they could affect the Black deaf community? I have a story that a few years ago, this deaf and Native American man was walking down the street with his carpenter knife. He does carpentry for a living. And there was a cop who was screaming at him from behind. He couldn't hear. The cop kept yelling until he got to a point where his patience ran out and the cop shot this man dead. There's another one. A Black deaf man was pulled over and the Black man was signing and indicating that he was deaf. But the cop still pulled a gun at him because he thought it was a gang sign. I think exposure to the deaf community is necessary because deaf people deserve to be treated as equal people to those in the hearing community, especially the Black and deaf community. Profanator77, I really appreciate this comment. Many months ago, at the start of my whole live on lockdown thing, I was posting just on Instagram at the time these interviews, and Profanator was one of the people to ask, like, could you put subtitles on it? And I hadn't given it a second thought because that was in my blind spot, no pun intended. I just didn't consider, was inconsiderate, not maliciously, but passively. And I did the captioning thing, and it took more time, right? And I was like selfishly annoyed that it takes more time to do the captioning thing. And it costs more money. I'd pay a service and blah, blah, blah. But the response was so amazing. The number of DMs I got from people who were like, thank you so much for putting captions on. Now I can access your message and your content. Not even just from people who couldn't hear, from people who were busy and didn't want to turn the volume up in a crowded environment. Their kids at a class on Zoom at the same time, and they just want to read along. And it's a lesson I have heard of and even preached, but I was forced to practice in a very personal sense, that when you design for everybody, it benefits everybody, not just those you design for. When you design for the quote unquote edge case, you end up helping a whole bunch of other people and making your overall product better, making your overall society better. So I want to thank you, Profanator77, for that encouragement many months ago. All my non-live videos are captioned, and I'm working on a way to do it live. In fact, if on Facebook, you can watch this and the live captioning is available because of their AI bots, but not on IG and some of these other platforms. But in terms of every clip I post, I upload a caption file, or I burn in the captions where caption files aren't offered. And hearing this intersection of being black and deaf and thinking about policing and someone signing and a cop interpreting that as a gang sign, that's just pain on pain, and it's avoidable. And if we designed a system of policing and public safety that accounted for differing abilities, we'd have a much more humane and beautiful society to live in. So thank you for the contribution. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch more time on it, but I just want to shout you out, brother, and share your message with many more people. If you're in a position to offer something up, make it accessible, make it inclusive to folks that you maybe don't even interact with, but then, like me, you may find yourself surprised. It's good for me. I got more viewers now, more people engaged, more people actually understanding me, which is the point. So it wasn't even like a charitable thing. It was also selfish in a way that benefited not just me. Hashtag how to citizen. Gang sign. All right. Got a question. We're rounding the turn on this show. I'm going to go past the hour, but I need to get these last two in. Dan Zoller messaged in for me to talk about best ways to support the cause in these last few days of the election of America. It wasn't specifying last few days. What signs to look for and how much should we worry about civil unrest around the election? Thank you, Dan, for the lighthearted, fun question. I really miss talking about the raccoons at times like this. So, last-ditch efforts. I encourage you to vote, to get 3 other people to vote, and to drop that joint off in person. When I paid off my student loans from Harvard University, I don't really talk about the Harvard thing very much. It feels a little weird sometimes, but for this story, I'm gonna talk about the Harvard thing. So your boy went to Harvard University, class of '99, the greatest graduating class of all time, because Prince wrote a song about us. And I made it out. I felt really good about it, but I had this debt burden, and I paid my mother back first. Because she had that class A debt, on the debt sheet, on the cap table or whatever. And then I paid Harvard next. And for the final check, I entrusted to the mail. I was like, I want to be there. I want to see their faces. I want to see the whites of their eyes. I'm walking this into the Holyoke Center in the 02138 zip code of Harvard Square, Cambridge, Massachusetts. My paper check verified. You know what I'm saying? And I'm handing it over. I want here. Mic drop. Check drop. And I just, here you go. And then I danced my way out like an old Cuban dude, just like Buena Vista Social in my way out, sashay, what? It felt so good. And there was no way they were saying we didn't get the check. Because I was there. I handed it to employee number 457-BA or whatever. They didn't employ robots at the time. It was a human. I forgot their name. And it felt good to me. And at this stage in the game, it's too late to be mailing in any ballots in most places. So drop that joint off in a designated drop box, not a fake Republican drop box that they set up to throw you off the scent. A real one. Check with your local elections commission website and double check it. I had that issue for me in Los Angeles. One of these third-party tools, like, you could take this over to such and such. And I'm like, let me just go to the LA County Registrar's website to verify. And that site was not listed. So I took it to the public library. I trust librarians. They are the best citizens of us. So in this last stretch, we got to get as many votes as possible. We got to make sure they get counted, which means getting them in on time, which means dropping that joint off or voting safely in person. Face shield, mask up, bring some music, bring some snacks, make it a party, block party in line. Lines can be fun. Some of my best times in life was waiting in line. What do you think South by Southwest Interactive is? Just waiting in line for the next session. I met some of my best friends in line. You know what I'm saying? Nightclubs in Vegas, just waiting in line. Oh, it's just you and you don't have 5 women with you? No, I wasn't here to get into the club. I just wanted to hang out with these cool bros in line. What's good, Chad? So the line can be a nice place. VoteSaveAmerica.com has more things that you can do beyond vote. You can volunteer, you can text, you can still give money in some key races that might make a difference. So unleash the whole fusillade of tools for democracy, because that's what's on the line. And then on the unrest front, listen to The Daily, the New York Times podcast from October 29th, where they talk about this in a very real way. And it's chilling. It's chilling. The number of people who are armed up for some result, and the number of people who are then armed up because of the number of people who are armed up. It's like that old cartoon Family Feud, and it never ends. You know, it's a escalation. It's an arms race in our society because we can't trust the other person. And, you know, I think the right wing, the conservative side, has been playing this game for far longer. There's not a lot of liberals who've been buying a bunch of guns for the past 40 years. It's always been the conservative side who's afraid that a Democratic president might come in and create jobs because that's what they do, and the Republicans don't. But, you know, live in your fantasy world. And now you got liberals out here who are like, look, these Republicans got all these guns. I mean, maybe I should have a gun too. It's scary. It's scary. So instead of that, instead of trying to quick buy a gun that you're totally unfamiliar with, and there's no ammo anyway, it's all sold out. You missed it back when the toilet paper was still available. So instead of getting ready for combat in the streets with small arms, go to choosedemocracy.us. Choosedemocracy.us. Tools that we have at our disposal beyond violence, bigger than violence, to make our voices known, to make the votes counted, and to withdraw our consent from any attempt at a usurpation of power. Don't need a gun for that. You actually have more power when you don't use a gun for that. So check it out. They've got a bunch of actions. They've got a bunch of resources. And we have a very special episode of How to Citizen dropping. It dropped today. It dropped today on the power of nonviolent civic resistance with Jamila Rakib, Executive Director of the Albert Einstein Institution. Let's invest in that. We don't need more blood. We have enough blood in the streets from the police. We have enough blood in the streets from domestic violence. We have enough blood in the streets from COVID-19. Let's not turn on each other in that way. We've lost too many people already. 2020 is not even over. And the last comment that I'll get to tonight, slightly over time, from Demont Show on Instagram, I believe. How are you living with the radical uncertainty of what Wednesday is going to look like? Even now through January of 2021 or 2025, how do you stay active during that uncertainty and not make it a limbo of mere anticipation or endurance? Again, appreciate the the simplicity of your question and the emotional lightness thereof. First step, I ignore Nate Silver. Ignore Nate Silver. I don't know why we pay attention to this stuff. It's not personal. It's not personal. This is not a personal attack on the human being born into the name of Nate Silver. It is a general rejection of the idea of forecasting election results, even using the language. Forecast says what's going to happen. Stop that. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. And it leads to complacency, and it is a passive form of voter suppression for some side or the other. Well, in 89 of 100 scenarios, Joe Biden wins. There's only one scenario that counts. That's this reality, not your computer model. So stop it. Especially when models are built on history. Algorithms are based on data which comes from history. How many times have we said we're living in unprecedented times? So there's no precedent. So there's no history for this. So your model doesn't know anything. It doesn't know. It's a toss-up. Treat this election like a toss-up. Emotionally prepare for it to be a toss-up. Know what you want. Dream into that. Live into that. Don't live in panic and fear, but do not cede your common sense and the reality to Nate Silver's model or anybody's. This is what's going to happen. Well, Trump could still win, but it would take stop it. And the analogies to baseball and rolling a die, a waste of bits and data and bandwidth and psychological energy. It riles me up because it assumes normalcy. The same way our media assumed normalcy when they just live streamed Trump rallies for 3 years straight. The same media that assume normalcy when they do the both sidism on climate science or vaccine effectiveness. It leads to more dead people. It hurts democracy. The same media that says, well, I guess we have to say the president tweeted this, so we have to talk about it because he's the president, so it's newsworthy. The same society that said, well, one day he'll become presidential because he's president. So by definition, he'll behave as all other presidents do and actually take the job seriously. So we should assume that he's a serious person. And that has led to kidnapping babies at the border and separating them from their families forever by destroying the paperwork. Because we assumed precedent that history would be the future. So when you look at every tradition that's been broken, from the Supreme Court with Mitch McConnell, to the kidnapping babies at the border, to the executive orders to purge lifetime bureaucrats, apolitical people for their lack of political loyalty to this president. Oh, we didn't even get to talk about that. This is an administration and now a Republican Party that spits at your precedent and your history. So why, knowing all of that, which is data, would you then trust your electoral model to predict the likely outcome? Okay, but you say, but they talk to real people. They talk to real people, and those people expressed these real sentiments, and there's a sample size. I'm not doubting the statistical validity of the polls. What I am doubting is that someone's expression of a political intent will ever be reflected in votes that are counted. That's the only model that matters. And when you got courts up and down the land and the Republican Party still suing to stop vote counts, when you've got a president who says anything he doesn't like is a rigged and fraudulent election, when you've got him saying, I want the Supreme Court to resolve this, when you got him saying, I won't commit to a peaceful transfer of power, then I don't care what 538 says about 89 out of 100 scenarios, because that assumes the votes are counted. What's your model got to say now? Oh, well, what had happened was we didn't have an algorithmic patch to go for an undemocratic attempt to purge the votes after the fact. We didn't have a Mitch McConnell factor. We didn't have an authoritarian coefficient in our algorithm. So stop it. The only votes that count are the votes we count. So let's count them all. Am I done? I might be done. I haven't checked in with you in a very long time. Let's see if you're still here. Okay. Oh, good. People are talking to each other. That's great. I love seeing that. Yeah, captions on Instagram. Do it. Do it. Rev.com is a great captioning service. Otter.ai, great captioning service. Low costs. Machines do it. And there's a bunch of other tools, but those are the two that I use. Cindy Leave, hello. Social Fresh, I see you. And Jen Nickel with the zombie efficient. Yes. Yeah. I think I just coined an algorithmic turn of phrase. The authoritarian coefficient in your algorithm. If you don't have one, your algorithm's whack. Because to quote In Living Color from the 90s, homie, don't play that. We got a honey badger of a president who doesn't give a fuck. So he'll stuff your president in your you know what. Why did I stop cursing then? I don't know. There's still a child in me who thinks my mother's watching all the time. I see you, Vicky Velcro. Jody loves dogs. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Is there something else I was supposed to get to? We talked about. Yeah, I'll see you in the future. Hang in there. Hang in there. For all of my preparations for doom and gloom, I want good things. I hope for good things. I'm emotionally invested in good things. But I would be a fool to assume good things and to not prepare. So, I know what happened. You know, it's funny. Damon Show asked a really great question about sustaining through the inauguration, this time or the next time. And I got stuck on Nate Silver. So let me pick up and answer the rest of the thought. I had been thinking a lot about what happens if this president legitimately wins. And I, joke about building a bunker and hanging out with my raccoon friends. And I might do that. But I think we just have to do more democracy. Regardless, actually. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win and we get a Democratic Senate, I will be happy and I will drink with a different emotion. And I will sleep for like 48 hours straight. And if this president maintains his power legitimately or illegitimately, if he maintains his power whatever way, we got work to do. We got work to do. And the work becomes even more clear. We have some healing to do. We have some retrenching to do. I look at the past 4 years in some ways as a big effort to hold our breath. Are we there yet? Can I come up for air yet? Can I breathe yet? And so many of us are hoping that this election will mark a time where we can come up for some air. But that is a survivalist mentality. It's a scarcity mentality. And I don't think it works for 8 years. I think we have to tap into some different energy for that one, which is, okay, how do we thrive amidst this? What gloriously powerful reforms can we push for now that everything is truly out in the open? Where can we withdraw our consent? That's a form of power too. And Jamila Rakib talks about this beautifully in the current episode of How to Citizen. So really listen to her in that. But there are usurpations that have failed because people just refuse to show up to work. That could be fun. That could be fun. Like a national walkout. I like that. We already got the streaming media accounts and we're used to being at home. So I think there's an opportunity to get creative about not just resistance, but creation, about healing, about common values, and about continuing to press for the things we believe in. I am comforted by the fact that more people believe in liberty and justice for all, in universal health care, in climate science, in a living wage. The numbers are in. So, Joe Biden has a beautiful campaign theme that he's fighting for the soul of America. But with respect to a wonderful person with a deep set of empathy who I think in many ways was designed for this time because he's been through so much loss, and whatever happens, many of us have lost so much. With respect to him, I don't think this is a battle for the soul of America. I think it's a battle for the representation of the soul of America in a legitimate political system. Because the data's in and everybody's pretty much agreeing, oh, the soul wants these things. But the Senate doesn't want it. And the Republican-packed courts won't allow it. But the will of the people has been pretty clear. So we would have to do some work to align our political system with our values, not the other way around. We don't have to change our values. We have to create a system that lives up to them. And I think I believe that regardless of who wins this election. And that's what I'm holding on to. That's how I'm thinking about how we get to and through November 3rd, to and through January 21st, to and through the next inauguration after that. I got to believe we're still going to have inaugurations. And we shall see what we shall see. That's what my mom used to say. So I'll leave you on that with the words of my late mother, Arnita Lorraine Thurston. She's right there over my shoulder. How you like my light? You like that purple light? Pop. I'm learning from the YouTubers. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm going to finish my beverage and eat. Peace, y'all.